Good morning. It's Thursday, September 20th. I'm Cale Casey, one of the information officers here with Pacific Northwest Team 2. Welcome to the final edition of Live at Sunrise First Fire Facts. This is a pilot program, just so you know. We're just trying it out this year as a way of getting you the first information in the morning, and we're glad you've been joining us for the last 9 days. Let's jump right into it with the theme of setting expectations, and we'll start first with some quick facts here. They did do some extra mapping yesterday with some handheld cameras out of the helicopter, and they did find that the McLeod Fire has grown about 800 acres, and that is in the country we've been showing you on the Facebook pictures, that remote country. That's that creeping and smoldering. We talked to fire behavior analyst Todd Gregory yesterday about how the fire is moving right now, and basically Todd summed it up this way, pretty simple. When it's wet outside and it's raining, the fire is not able to creep so much on the ground through the ground fuels, and so it just stays in those 1,000-hour big dead and down heavy trees where it's dry underneath, and it will stay dry underneath. When it's dry, after a couple hours of sunshine, it'll start moving through those ground fuels, just burning up the understory of the forest. Occasionally, it'll find a couple of lined trees and it'll do a little bit of a flare-up. Some of that can be seen at night. That's a natural part of having heavy fuel in the landscape, dead and down trees. And so the expectation we want to set is that there will be smoke and there will be some open flame until that season-ending event. So after our team is gone, there will be smoke and you will be seeing that day in and day out. Now, the aerial photos, we'll keep putting up a few more, but really the gist of it's already up there. We put a couple slideshows. We even showed you what the 8-mile road canyon fuel treatment program looks like, where the fire came down into that fuel treatment and the firefighters were able to hold that fire there. We do want to remind you that this is the area from the sunshine, when you're looking at McLeod Fire, from the point here all the way over to the top 8 mile, that's where the containment was put in, and that's where the repair is going on. The other part of the fire is the monitor, and then the Sunshine Peak area. Again, the primary containment line is in, the fire is backing down to the very rocky drainage, and again, fire managers will just be keeping an eye on that until it snows or rains. With the Crescent, we've been telling you, all the hard work by the firefighters goes up to this point here on Buttermilk, around Mission Peak, and again, the fire is moving and creeping through that country, and the fire managers are aware of that, they're monitoring that, and they will be for the end of the season after our team leaves. Our task is to use the supervision, the safety officers, the road coordinators with the security guards, and all the overhead to support that here, the expertise to get as much of this work repairing done as possible. We're not going to update you on this map every day and show you exactly what's going on with each and every dozer line. Suffice it to say, as the season winds down, so does the information stream. That's an expectation you need to have. I know sometimes in the absence of information, people get nervous, people get jittery. You've had many teams in this summer providing multiple updates every single day. My town in Alaska burned down in 2015. We lost 54 houses in 8 hours. That's called the Sockeye Fire in Willow, Alaska. I'm very aware of what it's like to be in a community that's starving for information, that needs information. We know what that feels like for you, but this is the expectation we need to set. We are tapering down. There won't be a daily update on that this line turned green yesterday or that this line turned yellow. That's just not going to be happening. The team is going to be getting all their work done. The sense of urgency that you're noticing is in fact that the end of season rains could be here any day. We don't necessarily know what's past next week. It's looking like we might get a teeny bit wet and then dry, but we could have a deluge. If we have a deluge, we don't want the steep bulldozer lines wide open for water to run down, carrying sediment into the creeks and streams, potentially taking out culverts, and potentially taking out sections of forest road that cost millions and millions of dollars to repair. So the urgency after a fire is that the repair gets done as soon as possible to get the erosion risk down as low as possible, get the BEAR team, the Burned Area Emergency Response Team that's coming in a few days, September 24th, into these fires to do all the assessment of those culverts, to look at the soil intensity, to look at the canopy intensity. And so it won't be a daily update on that. In the absence of that update, that work continues. We're putting ourselves out of a job. That's our goal here. So in the next few days, with the 10 or so excavators, the dozers, the logging trucks, the firefighters, the chippers, the safety officers, the paramedics, the ground support folks, the mapping team, the plan section, everybody here is supporting the mission of putting ourselves out of work, handing it back to the local district so that we can get reset and get ready for either another Type 1 national fire like the kind they're having in Salt Lake right now, or a hurricane flood, or some other event. That's what teams do. They come in for their period of time and they try to either hand it off like the Northern Rockies handed it to us, or put themselves out of work. In the newspaper, the Metcalfe Valley News, when we first got here, Marcy Stamper had written a nice article right here on the second page, the lower half. Information, please. We all know in the modern area of Facebook and IncyWeb and Twitter that you're getting a whole lot of information you might not have gotten 5 or 10 years ago. That raises expectations, and we understand that. As a team that travels nationally, this program right here is designed for especially communities that are evacuated, with folks not being able to be home so they can get the very first fire facts in the morning. I know some of you are really enjoying the daily ops briefings that the other teams are doing. We understand that. That's our normal. On this type of fire with the wind down, we don't do things every single day because we're tapering the information flow. Okay, if there was evacuations when we got here, it'd be a whole different story, but we're tapering down. That's the expectation we have to let you know. In the absence of information, some folks get jittery. Just reminding you, this is a neighborhood of great people. We've met you over the years. We have friends who live here. I'm a ski dog and dog musher. I have mushing friends down the road and people who like to train here in the winter. My friends climb here, guide here, all sorts of stuff here. We know these communities are special. Help each other out in that absence of information. Help each other fire-wise. Get your property ready for a fire that could be coming this fall in the dry, mistaken Indian summer kind of months where somebody makes a mistake. It happens all over the country late season, or certainly for next year. If you're already a fire-wise community, like some of the signs say around the Twist Corridor, remember, that's not something that's evergreen. You have to keep working to stay fire-wise. Cut back the brush. Remove the fuels from your houses. Help a neighbor out who might not understand what they need to do. Contact the Conservation District. Get involved. Be proactive. Get your community resilient and ready for next year. And we want to also just let you know that the district office will have an info board after we leave. IncyWeb will be up after we leave. Facebook is definitely winding down over the next few days. The closures will be announced by the forest, just like they always do when there's not a team here. So that'll be posted on their Okanogan-Wenatchee National Forest official website. And just to follow up on the Goat Peak Lookout, we were really happy to get that photo yesterday. That's some folks asked about the wrap around it. That's not a whole bunch of fire shelters. That's industrial structure wrap. The Forest Service buys that by the pallet, and we use that in obviously in structure protection, but often in national parks and in places where there's historic cabins. They get that kind of wrap. It's not something you can buy over the counter. Remember, we're part of the Green Pants Nation. Doesn't matter what badge you wear, if you're local, county, state, if you're a volunteer right here in town who was on the initial attack, or if you're retired, you know that we all have the same mission in mind. That's to protect your property, your community, your infrastructure, and values at risk. We thank you for your support. We thank you for the signs. Our firefighters are really honored to be here, and you made them feel at home. Thank you so much.